You found us. What about this idea?
Gotta listen to this show. Why?
Because it's about the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs.
Oh, nailed it.
I didn't even look at the wall.
Nailed it.
I didn't even look at
All
the
right,
wall.
listen, honestly, this is a show. It's different than other shows about entrepreneurship.
It's real. It's real. Real stories.
Is it?
We tend to talk very real.
I love
And
it.
so do our guests. So come have fun with us.
All right, we're back for the second half. What about this idea, Wadi? So this show, we've really dug into this whole "what about this idea" thing.
We have,
I
in a
feel
good
like
way.
there's been a lot
Yeah.
of ideas, how ideas become something. But anyway, we were talking about this building. I'm just going to say it. I'll just say this building's history, like late 1800s or something. It was built, right? So if you look at a lot of the timbers, it's got really great stuff, but the subterranean part of it is really cool because it's like a 50-foot deep foundation, and then Bassett or Bass Creek, I forget, but runs underneath the middle of the building and comes out into the
Yeah.
into the Mississippi. And they used to have a viewing portal, evidently, in the middle of the building, a big glass domed viewing portal, but then we started polluting the river too much and it got gross, so they covered it up.
So they didn't want us to see it?
Yeah, they didn't want us to see it. I think they have since done some cleaning and things, but we don't get to look.
We don't get to. I remember that part. So just for our people watching this, we're in the Itasca building in Minneapolis, Minnesota,
Loop.
right? And so this actually is our last recording in this room.
In this space. That's
Yeah,
correct.
we'll still be in the
I'm
Itasca. I know.
You're honored.
I know.
And then we'll have you back later. You can talk about something new at the new studio.
Your next idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're moving. We're staying in the Itasca building, but we got a different office. We got a really funky, cool space.
I feel like being in a nice space is makes the working on ideas easier. Maybe having ideas even as well, but like just being in a space that
It's inspirational.
It is
is.
inspirational. Yeah.
Yeah.
This building is inspiring. You look at I love the timbers out there because you know that those were logged.
Right.
I really wish man hadn't come and just booted out everyone who was here, logged everything, killed all the animals. I don't want to get, but we weren't very kind to the place. But there is the history. It's locked up in those giant timbers in this building.
Yep.
I can only imagine what the trees look
Yeah, I like being part of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though there's some sadness that it's all gone,
There
at least
is,
it
yeah.
is still performing a function.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a smaller town in Minnesota called Winona.
Oh, yeah.
Winona, Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's where my
Down south.
grandfather and my father owned businesses. I grew up.
What kind of businesses?
Yeah, my grandpa owned a beverage distribution business. He was beer.
It was beer.
It was beer.
Yeah,
It was beer.
Which
And every day I would be up 3 stories high, sitting on top of these pallets of Schlitz and old Milwaukee
and
beer.
Platts and yeah.
And the reps would bring by these big, huge pickled sausages. So I'd be up there with a sour pop and a pickled sausage, and I'd be watching these forklifts go and do the whole operations, and it was
God,
just
that's
fascinating.
uniquely Minnesotan.
It is
I
so-
like it.
yeah.
I mean, I think anyway. Pickled sausages.
Yeah.
It's pretty
What's a sour
Midwest.
pop?
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, it was another brand that my grandfather sold, and it was the sour pop. It was like lemon lime.
Like a beverage?
It's a beverage, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sour flavor pop.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like it. I don't know if I know that one. All right.
There used to be what was it called where you would get it in glass bottles,
Yeah.
and
These were glass bottles.
and
yeah.
they would come in a red crate.
Yeah.
It was like the Pop Shop or something like that. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, this was like Cold Springs or some kind
Cold
Yeah.
Spring was,
No, that's probably something different.
well, that's Glick's, and they
Yeah, I don't know.
they bottled everything out
Can't
in
remember
Cold
the
Spring.
brand.
Cold Spring was like a massive
Bottling.
facility.
Yeah.
For the.
Anyway, so I just grew up in that world,
Yeah.
and saw my grandfather toil, and it was a wonderful I loved that part of my childhood.
Yeah.
It really was just really, really fun.
Yep.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I didn't. I was an only child.
Oh,
yeah. And so
Were you? I have a daughter. I keep throwing you off your thoughts here, but I have a daughter, and I have 2 older sons, but she is the first girl born in my family. My mother had 4 boys. We all had boys, so there's like 8 or 9 boys in a row, and then my daughter comes along. And I think every now and again we'll say you're spoiled. So I'm just asking as an only daughter, right? And she says, "No, Daddy, I'm not spoiled. I'm just pampered." Like,
yeah,
I'm just curious.
pretty funny.
When you talk about what helps us develop, I mean, what is the foundation of who we are today?
Yeah.
Certainly was impacted by how I grew up. And I get that question all the time. So you were kind of spoiled, right? Because you were the only child. And I'm going to say, absolutely not. Actually, I think it was harder.
Yeah.
There was, it was at the time when I was just, 8, 9 years old, and my parents were splitting up, and I was spending more time with my grandparents, which was fine. It was just, and I'm grateful for my grandparents for taking care of me so well, as my parents were trying to figure themselves out, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And so, I would have loved to have a sibling to be able to experience that difficultness and lean on during those hard times.
Yeah.
But it certainly helped me develop independence. It certainly helped me in just taking one step in front of the other when things didn't seem like they were really fun in life, right?
Yeah.
It was very formative
Yeah.
for who I am today.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to imply that you were spoiled. I think my daughter's point, and I take it well, is to be spoiled is like to have people give you too much and for you to not have to do something for it or something like that. But when you are like in her position, or if you're an only daughter, I can just imagine. Did your grandpa and grandma were you the apple of their eye in a certain way? Like,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I am so grateful for the love that I got from my grandparents.
And that affords you, it affords you, it gives you license to be confident, because these people, they don't have to spoil you by giving you too much. They can still be hard on you and teach you lessons, but they love you so much, right?
Well, yes. So I have to say that the business that I started and created was the result of what was happening in my life back then, and who ended up being the most important people or beings in my life. The 2 beings that helped me basically survive, right, was my dog and my grandmother.
Yeah.
And if you think about the business that we created, it was first for my dog, and then it was for my grandmother, who unfortunately is no longer with us.
Yeah.
But yes,
That happens.
it was that passion that came from then that, I just felt impassioned that, first of all, and I think this is true, our aging population just doesn't get the respect it deserves.
No, it doesn't.
They just don't. And they deserve more. They deserve more respect. They deserve more care. They deserve more attention and communication and connection and love. And it's hard.
Well, we've moved away from being a society where your parents age in your home.
With you.
Which, I mean, that happens a lot more in Europe, I think, than it does here. And I sort of wonder, why don't we do that?
I think I have a friend who studied the Hmong culture.
Yeah.
And they still do it, even though they're here, right? And she was saying the same thing. Why don't we do this? And I said, it's because I would kill my mother.
Yeah, I was going to say, but then I spent a bunch of time around my mom, and I'm
she would be dead. Yes.
I'm just kidding. Love you, Ma. Yeah.
I know my mom's not listening. She turns 90 next month.
Oh.
And she'll be like, what is it you do again? Is it like a radio thing? Or, I'm like, nah, it's nothing, Mom. It's no big deal. Side hustle. Yeah. And then, so then you went to college?
Yeah. Well,
where did you go to school?
First of all, when I was around 11 or 12, we moved to the Twin Cities. And I grew up then the rest of my life in St. Louis Park. So I went to St. Louis Park High School. I went to the University of Minnesota. I went to Metropolitan State. I went to St. Thomas.
Were you driven? Were you an athlete? And I'm just trying to figure out who you were.
I was an
like,
athlete. And I was driven. Although I have to say that, I didn't come from a family that thought that you had to get like your doctorate degree or, something like that. And so I started actually pretty simple. I started in veterinary medicine, but only with a 2-year degree. But my first job I got was at the University of Minnesota Veterinary Teaching Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up specializing in medical imaging. And then I ended up teaching it at a vocational college. Everything. Think about it. X-ray, ultrasound, CAT scan, MRI, radiation
Just all
therapy.
on animals.
All imaging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
So I ended up in academia and then teaching this stuff. And then I got a call from a big publisher. Would you write a textbook? Sure. Wrote a textbook.
Oh my God.
Who doesn't?
Right?
I mean,
Why isn't anybody
Old hat.
asking me for a textbook?
By the way, that textbook is now in its 7th edition, used globally, and they renamed it Lavin's Veterinary Radiography.
really?
Yes.
How do I know cool people like this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it was that entrepreneurial itch that got me to where I am today, that made me leap from this comfortable little veterinary medicine pillow of academia and publishing and speaking and all that. Because I said, I just really want to get into business. And a mentor said, well, then you better get into business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, where do I start? And he recommended, Lisa, why don't you start in sales and then work your way up from sales? And I thought,
Okay.
that's it,
Yeah.
right?
Made sense to you?
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to go see a recruiter.
Oh, those recruiters again.
Such good people.
And you know what?
Best.
I said to the recruiter, I want to get a sales job in selling capital X-ray equipment, because I have this this imaging background. I know
And a
all of
published
this
book.
stuff. I know all this stuff backwards and forwards. And he said, Lisa, honey,
Oh, he honeyed you?
why don't you start in copier sales? You asked me in the first segment of this show, what is formative in my life? Why am I so tenacious? Is because of the people that didn't believe in me.
I know. I love those
It's
people.
because of the number of people that patronized me or didn't believe or said, no, you can't do that. And I then walked out of that office and I said, watch me.
Yeah.
And within 3 months' time, I had a top account management job with Philips Medical Systems. So,
Yeah.
bam.
In your face, guy.
And then 2 years later, I
Honey.
got a call from 3M to go there and be part
Honey.
of their...
Yeah. I got told by
Thanks for the motivation, honey.
I got told by a teacher in high school who was like the most doctored guy in school. He was, he taught humanities and he was very well respected. And he told me that I probably don't have the intellect to work with my mind. I should work with my hands. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, that's a pick-me-upper. Yeah.
Yeah,
really-
makes you feel good about yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my older brother had been a student of his who went on, the first kid from Elk River to go to Harvard, and he got a full ride scholarship. So I came along, and he's like, "You're not your brother.
God.
Don't use your brain. Figure out how to use your hands." Anyway, I totally understand what you mean. When you know that you have skills and you have your own value, and someone says, "Oh, honey, you should do copier sales," you're like, that lights a fire. I love it. So you people,
Well, you can
are
take it one or
important.
two ways, right? You can go.
You can be
"Oh,
demoralized.
Yeah. Oh,
You can go crawl in a hole.
some people
Yeah.
do
Get
that.
depressed, and that's easy to happen.
Yeah.
And I just said, F that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I like that little rebellion in you. I wonder where that came from, because you.
I have...
grandpa and grandma.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can go one of two ways when you're faced with adversity or you're faced with continual no's, right?
Yeah.
It can either make you stronger or it could be demoralizing. And I feel lucky that I chose the first path.
You
of
wouldn't
just-
ever let it be demoralizing, would you? Though I mean, like, it's just not in you.
There
really
are
to
days.
be-
I mean, think about it, especially when you're raising capital, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that is in
You're
itself demoralizing.
99.9% of every single time you pitch, of which I've done thousands of times.
The answer's no.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
And if you get demoralized from that, which there are days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there are days.
Yeah.
I just go,
Are you still raising capital? Like, do you still
We're
have to?
always raising capital.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how long has this been? 7 years or something this company has been?
Yeah, so we started developing the platform in 2017,
Yeah.
right? And we're right now in phase 2 commercial launch. Phase 1 was pilot.
Okay.
You know, we validated all of the value propositions that we wanted to validate.
Yep.
And now we're rolling out national. So we've got 2 very strong pharmacy partnerships that are doing
Great.
home delivery of medication for dispense via the Ōmcare Home Health Hub. And now we're also rolling out with our select key senior care provider partners who are offering Ōmcare now as part of their continuum of care.
Great. Okay, so do you hear
Gosh,
that,
I'm
listeners?
so excited about it. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, but
I
6 years of one product to get to the point where you
Yeah.
sell that product and create a different product that's very similar to that one, using the first as a base, right? And then 7 years to get to stage 2 where you're just now rolling out. Like, so if you're thinking about a big idea and getting it to work out in the world, it takes a ton of time and work.
Yeah,
People
and
do
over
understand.
$18 million.
And $18 million, so go get that.
To be honest, that's not a lot.
No.
No. Not for 2
In the real
platforms.
world, it's not.
It's-
Like to any individual, it sounds
To be
like
able to do
a
what
ton.
you did, I worked with a healthcare company that was building out a software for, I'm trying not to describe them, for health facilities, and something that didn't exist before. And their investor gave them a check for $100 million.
Oh, I'd love that name.
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, 100. I just have to ask because when I was in construction, I got a check at the beginning of a project. It was a $600,000 or $700,000 project, and I wanted. They said, "How much do you want up front?" And I'm like, "A third." And so they wrote a check for $212,000. I remember this, but I'm like, I didn't even. This check here is worth more than my house is currently worth. You know, like this little piece of paper. So I'm imagining when you say they wrote him a check, like I just want someone someday to pull out a checkbook and be like
$100 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you take it to the bank.
Yeah.
And they're like,
You don't look like you belong to that
$100
check.
million? Really? Have you ever actually had someone put a big check in your hand when you raise funds, or is it always through?
Well,
like
it depends
some
on what you
banky-
call big.
Yeah. Well.
Well, I'm not $100 million.
No, but big enough.
What's big?
You're right. It's all
Well, I mean,
relative in a certain
It's all
way.
relative.
It is.
Right. Well, it's all relative.
I mean,
on
when
what the
I get a
return is.
check from one of my investors for, for 1 month, and it is more than I make in a year, yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But they like physically write you a check.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that part. It's just there's something so weird about it to me that
It's true, but they could just call their bank and digitally transfer it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally, it is a piece of paper that is printed with some little code on it, and then the person takes a pen and writes a little thing on it. It's just scratches in ink, like you don't know. It's a weird thing in the universe that then translates
Which is
to
going
like,
away, by the way.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
It is. But I like it. I like the idea of someone passing you over this.
It's to me,
tiny
that's
thing.
less weird than all the digital piece, right? Because at least you had this valuable document, just like you would a certification or, your business establishment documents. At least a check seems like that's your thing.
I mean,
right? That represents actual value. But digital money,
the crypto stuff,
it just
Yeah,
it feels
I
like
don't
it's
get it.
like it's
I don't
like
get it.
all made up.
Well, it is. It is all made up, but so is the paper check. So is the plastic card
No,
that
but
you
that is
carry
it's
around
like
the
a
world.
it's a thing.
If you take it,
Physical thing.
It's a thing.
and you guys know this, but if you take it back far enough, there's a day like in the Sumerian or Roman countryside somewhere, right, where there's someone and they've got like their 6 chickens, and someone comes up to them and says, "Hey, I'll give you this little silver token, and I'd like your 6 chickens." And they're like, "What?" Like, no, I can't eat you need to give me 2 goats. I'm not giving you my 6 chickens without the 2 goats. And they're like, "No, seriously, you can go buy 2 goats with this little piece of silver." And that's, you fast forward to today and we keep reinventing the little piece of silver that means, it's actually just a trinket that means nothing.
You're right.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll take the 2 goats.
It's,
But anyway.
which makes visualizing and manifesting money a little more relevant. You know, it's like, it's just a thing. It's just an energy.
It is just a, yes.
just a
That's
thing.
why I get a real kick out of the
Yeah.
idea that there's a big check sitting somewhere. That someone's, I think they dealt with this in, was it Happy Gilmore or whatever, where he's carrying around the big giant checks in his car. He was in a golf tournament and he won the big fake check at the end, and, and he took that to the bank or something. Anyway, it reminds me of that.
Yes. We always seem to mention a movie at some point, but I don't think I ever watched Happy Gilmore.
I mean,
Did you?
Neither of you. Look at, what do I say? It was a guilty pleasure. It's a pretty funny show.
Okay, well, let's fast forward for today. Now, I want to know, you have dogs, right?
Yes, I have 2 dogs.
You have 2 dogs. What kind of dogs do you have?
Standard poodles.
Oh.
I love them.
They're so
I love them so much.
And do you micromanage your veterinarian?
Yeah, I do. I do. And
can't help yourself.
I'm very grateful for them for putting up with me. They're very kind.
I love it.
They're very kind.
They are very kind.
Well, it's, I know how that goes. If
Thank
know
you,
something
Crossroads
about
Animal
it.
Hospital in Burnsville, Minnesota.
Crossbones
I think
Medical.
we go to Crossroads. I think we take our dog to Crossroads. in
Absolute
Burnsville.
best, absolute best place.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Do you have kids?
Yes, we do. We have 2 children, and I have 6 grandchildren.
No way.
Yes, I know I look 12, but I'm a little
You
bit
do
older than
actually look 12.
you don't look as if you should have grandchildren, but I'm not.
More like 18. You look 18.
that. Oh, thanks.
Oh,
You know, I'm getting it now. You look like Bo Derek.
Are you
That's-
kidding me?
I'm not
Oh my
kidding you.
God, with the little braids
We
running
should
down
get you
the
a wig
beach.
with braids on it next time.
I always shy away from making any connection to people just in case they're like, I don't fucking look like Bo Derek. Don't you
Who do
dare
I look
say
like?
that. Like,
Who do I look like?
you.
Yeah.
You look like
It's
Julia.
the same-
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. Everybody says
Oh.
it.
That's it.
Meryl Streep.
Yes.
I can see it.
Totally it.
Everybody says it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just always get nervous at the
But
point that
I've
I'm about
never
to say
heard
it.
Bo Derek. That's
Really?
ridiculous.
Okay.
No.
Well,
Why is it ridiculous?
I don't have those little braids, and I don't.
It's
No,
your
it's your face.
My face?
I know. Well, yeah, it's
your face.
It's it's very well put together.
I've,
You know.
okay.
So
I think
who's
we should
we?
get-
Are you married?
Yes.
If
almost
you
30
don't want to
years.
get into personal stuff, we don't have to very much on that side. That's not the intent of the thing. But you're married for 30 years.
Almost 30.
Almost 30. You've got a few kids.
2 kids.
Are they
kids.
around? Are they?
Yep. Daughter and a son live here in the Twin Cities.
Oh my gosh, perfect.
3 kids each.
Oh,
Yep.
So-
I think they're done. I think they're done.
so 6 grandkids.
Yeah.
How old are the grandkids?
Ranging from 11 to down to 1.5.
Are you like a super proud grandparent? Do you just
I
absolutely
love
adore
them to
these?
death, and I'm also a workaholic. So, I mean, I'm just, so.
Yeah.
I work a lot.
That's okay. Well, you're doing something really big.
I work a lot. I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
mean, you can't
we
start a
have what
company
we
like
call
that.
every week we have what I have named Monday Soup Kitchen, right?
Okay.
So everybody's invited to come over. We have soup, we have sandwiches, and at least once a week we get to see each other. So,
Okay, so like all
I
10
think
of
that's
them?
a great idea. And
Yeah.
they can come or they don't need to come
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, I've known of families to do this on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love Mondays because then you don't steal their weekends.
Right.
Right?
And then you actually have a
Weekends
higher
are tough.
probability of everybody being able to show up.
Yeah. Are you kids entrepreneurs?
No. But
Maybe.
one has an itch.
Yeah, maybe.
Has an itch.
We
I
talked
was just
before the
talking.
show.
Yeah.
Even though I don't do the whole getting to know someone before I
Oh,
interview
I went to get iced tea and
Yeah, you were
dug
gone
in,
for like
didn't
10
you?
minutes and we got to know each other a little bit. Yeah.
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 There's some
I want to talk to you
entrepreneurial-
about Jake. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that. That would
Yeah.
be great.
Okay, I feel like.
Well, he's
Well-
considering a life, some niche in construction or something. So
Oh,
I'm
very cool.
very happy to talk.
yeah, yeah. Sam is the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows.
He used to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 kids too, a girl and a boy,
Okay.
but not as old, I don't think, as yours. Mine are, well, maybe. They don't have any kids, 27, 22. Yeah.
Yep.
And I've got 3, as long as we're sharing.
We know.
Okay,
We already
yeah.
said 2 boys and a girl. Yeah,
2 boys
we
and a
know.
girl.
But they're young. Yours are much younger
17,
than ours.
15, and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. They're great.
I'm really happy where I'm at with my kids. You know, people are like,
You've got
I
great
just
kids.
wish they were kids again. And I'm like, no, I'm really happy they're adults. And they're really fun. And they're cool human beings that I want to hang out with.
It gets even funner.
And they
does.
take care of
It really
themselves.
does. And for the very first time, I'm really excited about this January. Just the 2 kids and us are going dog sledding up in Ely, Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
You go-
Right? Just
Yeah.
the 4 of us going dog sledding.
You going with,
Seriously.
Yeah.
With Will
love
Steger, or where are you going?
Yeah, this is an outfit.
Okay.
I can't remember the name.
I think he did actually
Yeah.
establish that outfit. Both my moms
Definitely
are
some.
from Ely, Minnesota.
Oh, really?
So I spent a lot of my childhood there.
Oh.
I know. You're going
both
to ask
of
me
your
what
moms.
that
Yeah,
You're gonna ask me what that means.
No, it took me a second. I actually know.
I'm adopted.
Yes.
So my bio mom grew up in Ely, and my adopted mom grew up in Ely.
Yep.
Well, how about that?
Isn't that weird? And there was only maybe 300 people in that little town.
Yeah.
I was born in Duluth.
Yep.
That's a separate ecosystem, Ely. It's very interesting.
It's really
Beautiful.
interesting. I mean, and I think it's still well established in the cultures that moved in there, like a lot of Irish culture, Slovenian. I'm about 37% Slovenian.
Yeah.
You know, that interesting mix of Northern European and also like Southern European, really.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. It's so incredibly beautiful up there. So, mush.
Mush on. Yep.
And mush.
So you're a workaholic, which
Well, you know,
I get it.
I work a lot. I don't know if I'd call it workaholic, but maybe other people might.
sure.
My family might.
Yeah, maybe
But
that.
you know,
maybe that
let's
term's
just say
broad.
this:
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work.
totally.
It's not a 9-to-5 job. This is a full-time commitment of starting a business.
Especially
And-
when you're raising funds, you're
You're-
taking other people's money into this thing. You've got to build it. You got a whole bunch of stuff.
And you're responsible for the lives that you're feeding.
What's
right?
your
So,
current title?
Founder, chairman, and
CEO.
CEO.
Okay, yeah. Just because you're a founder doesn't mean you need to carry the CEO title
Right.
forever.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
not all founders actually make great CEOs because they're kind of different things.
Well, and I'll be the first one, and I've told my board this too. If there ever comes a time when I'm not the best person to be in the CEO seat, I will step down.
Yeah, because it's a different skill set. That like
Once your company reaches a certain
Yes.
stage, that
it's like
CEO
management.
may not be the right person to take it to that next level.
Yeah, because oftentimes the founder is the creative one or the one who had the passion to get it,
The visionary.
the visionary thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the CEO role, not to bag on CEOs, I love them, they're great, but that's a little bit more like business school management. Like this is how we get this, keep it going.
Well,
Not that
and
it's
grow
all-
it and scale
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And also, you have to have different skills to be a founder and grow a
think so.
company and have the patience. And it's hard to let go. It's hard to know, first of all, what are the things I need to keep doing and what are the things that are holding this company back now. It's hard to discern between what that is. Years ago, I read an article on this, and I'd love to find it because I'd like to bring it back up just for conversation. It's called founder syndrome, and that's the idea: is that founders, they don't know which skills are working for right now,
Right.
and which skills, if they walk away. You know, the example is Apple. Who started Apple?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs did this whole thing. He was the founder. He was the CEO. He pissed off the board, pissed off most people that worked for him. And then he left the company.
And then it didn't do
And
so
then
well.
it didn't do so well. So it's like, well, now we know in a terrible, awful way that the things he was doing are the things that were growing the company.
Yep.
But
Turns out he is a good CEO.
turns out, well, I don't know. I think
I
they
don't-
shifted some things, but before he came back. But
Who knows?
But that's a good example of it. In that, okay, well, what parts of that was important to keep going to scale that company, and what parts of that were just him being an asshole, right? And him just being whatever he was.
Right.
how do we discern between those things?
So
it
you've
was
been
the asshole
running it.
part, the part that needed to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, I
right?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know either. But you've been running it for 7 years, and but you're just getting out into the bigger market at this point.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
This is where it gets real.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
now the focus for you in the business is like establishing those partnerships and those relationships with, say, pharmaceuticals and home care.
Yeah, pharmacies and home care and senior care providers, building and expanding those relationships. Here's what I say. This is now an execution play.
Yeah.
We've been preparing for 13 years to get to where we are today.
Right.
Now is the time to execute. Now is the time to actually do it. And so when I say this is where it gets real, it's like, yeah, the previous years have been stressful. Now is where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah, totally.
And
Manufacturing,
now this is do or die, right?
distribution.
So this is it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Plus,
Here
you
we
have
go.
the added element of this thing of like HIPAA laws and
Yeah.
and
Cybersecurity.
cybersecurity and
Yep.
and even like pharmaceutical sort of laws around, pain meds and
Yeah.
all of those things that you can't shift, or like the security in the
big-
actual machine.
Well, here's what I'll tell you what.
I mean, I'm sure you haven't thought about any of this, Lisa.
Yeah.
I'm
Is
so
she
glad
bringing
you
up-
came here.
It's like
It's not for the faint
opening
of heart.
wounds.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, no.
This is a very detailed company, right?
Yeah.
What we're doing in not only the relationships, but the technology and the platform and the dispensing of medications and the integration with the pharmacy and the integration with senior care operators. This is complicated.
It,
Yeah.
it ain't no lava lamp.
But if it were easy, then everybody would do it.
Right.
Exactly.
And we thought, well, who better?
Yeah,
Let's just do
you've,
it.
you've already put the
We're gonna do it.
time and element. How do you not burn out? What do you do?
How do you not burn out?
How do
Do
you not
Yeah,
burn
does it-
out?
I mean, is it?
I mean, if you're working all the time, how are you doing it?
I am a little crispy at times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Well, I mean, do you work out or deadlift or I don't know,
Just
jump
ever
rope or
Just spend a day in bed where you're like, no one talk to me today.
boxing? Seems like a good
Oh,
way.
shades.
Yes, exercise, very important. Getting out into the outdoors and getting some fresh air, very
Yep.
important. Trying to get as much sleep as I possibly can in the night. But I'll tell you, oftentimes the most common question is, well, what are you going to do when you're done with this business, or when you exit this business, however that may happen? Like, what are you going to do next? And I always say, I'm just going to sleep.
Yeah.
For a couple of years.
I'm just going to sleep.
Gonna sleep and not have to wake up for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I
No,
love
I
that.
exercise
You're not
at least
gonna
an hour a day.
sleep.
An hour a day?
You're not gonna sleep in the end, though.
No.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I am.
No, I don't think you understand.
bored of it. After a little while, you're,
Yeah, about a week I'll probably
you're too
be wondering.
driven. Maybe I should do something else.
Well, a day or two in there. Well, this is a good segue to the end of our show, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
because
You.
we always do a little bit of what about this idea? Like now that you've been doing this and you've been working on this idea for so long, what other ideas? What big idea?
Yeah, and this doesn't have to be. So we've already established that ideas are kind of cheap and hard to steal and bring to fruition because you got to do all this work, right? So you've already established that. So when we ask this, we're thinking like, are you sitting on an idea that's been in the back of your mind for a long time that may never come true, but it's kind of interesting to you, And
Sure.
we're putting you on the spot.
I've got ideas,
Yeah.
none that I'm willing to actually vocalize in this moment.
No problem.
But here's what I will say more than anything, and I say this because it is really, really true. Remember, I said, I am who I am today because of those who helped me along the way.
Yep.
And there have been so many people that have given me so much help, so much support, so much money, that I will tell you it's my turn to start giving back. And that's really where I want to focus my time.
Oh.
I love
'Cause I
that.
want to help other people be successful.
What populations interest you most to give back?
Young entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. I want to help them.
Well, I got something for you. We'll talk about it after.
I know, right? Well,
Yeah.
can I sign up to be first in line when you're ready to give back?
I'm doing my part right now.
I'm making it official.
Me.
No, I mean part of what this show, and we didn't know where this was headed when we started this. We have a ton of fun
That was clear.
doing it. Yeah. Thank you.
Still,
Yeah, you-
still don't know what the hell we're doing.
I earned that one. But when we actually started the series, right, let alone each show, we certainly have no idea where we're going. You see that clearly. But we do know that it's sort of pushing us toward building a space. I think of it as like not necessarily a physical space. It may be a digital space, but just a place where entrepreneurs can get access to certain things. And I know they already exist in various places in the world, but there can be another one. It's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
There can be another place. And with our kind of our little bit of flair or our ecosystem, like the way our culture that we've created through this show. So we'll talk about that later.
Sounds good.
I love it.
Look
Yeah.
forward to it.
Because I have met people who have been very successful who say they want to give back, and they maybe are sitting on a pile of money that they've earned from their thing, and I don't think they necessarily know how to, and it's more complicated than people think in a certain way. And it's tough talking to early stage entrepreneurs because they're all aspiration, but they don't necessarily know what they're getting themselves into. So it's an important role that people who've been through it can play.
Yeah, and we've I mean, really, what you have done has been very thoughtful and analytical and calculate your risk over this time. We've had people like that on the show, but we've also had people who were like reluctant entrepreneurs, right? Like, okay, the product took them with them, and then it was all building it around, right? We've
had people who will just jump off the cliff, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
but you're supposed to test the depth first.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
right.
you know.
Right. Did you put the parachute on?
Right. Like there is a spectrum.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to see this spectrum. There is that you can be very take your time and do this thoughtfully and bring the right kind of money in and the right kind of partners in, and the same could happen. And you did it the opposite way.
Yeah.
But the path is never exactly the same. I was thinking about women, and I do a lot of work with women in different groups in the community, and especially because I have a heart from the work I do, and what inspires my work at Avid Edge is to really get more women and people of color into leadership positions in technology. And I always end up asking myself, why isn't it true yet? Like, haven't we been taking our bras off and throwing them around since the 60s? You know what I mean? Why are we still having this discussion, and why did it go backwards in 2020, right? And I remember I've talked a little bit about this in the show before, but I just ended up talking about this on a phone call before I came here. And Susan Davis Ali, do you know that name?
It's familiar.
Yeah, you might know her locally. She's, I love mentioning her, and we should actually get her on the show.
Of course.
She is a PhD basically in how women achieve and how women grow, and she's written a book about it. And right now, I'm sorry, Susan, I don't remember the name of the book, but it's amazing. I have it, and it really inspired me as a woman. But one of the things that has always inspired the work that I do with women has been that we've been working so hard on the system, right? We need to change the system. We need men to recognize their privilege. We need organizations to see that they're operating like frat houses or whatever it is, right? Like we raise awareness in that system, and we've been doing that for years. And what Susan says, I said, well, Susan, what is going to make the difference? And she said, the pure fact is, as much as I want to say the system, we keep working on the system, the system's not going to change until we have more people. We have numbers in those positions, and then the system changes because they're there. So I have been working a lot with women entrepreneurs and just women in general and saying, I know you want to change the system, but when you make a decision and when you make action, realize what you're doing it for. Are you working for that system to change, or are you working for yourself to change? Because all signs point to you need to be individualistic about this. You need to be a leader and get into those areas. And so I have been doing a lot more subtly, right? So like our business tries to get a lot of women into technology. I'm oftentimes coaching them up, and then I have their back in a coaching situation at the end. But I've been working with individuals. So the more individuals we can get up into those leadership positions, the better, the more the system will change.
Of course.
And it will be wonderful. It'll be utopia.
Will it?
Yes, it will be utopia when that happens. I'm an idealist, and we are going to go down that path, right? Because we will have more empathetic leaders, and we're already starting to see those values being valued.
Thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Yeah.
I don't share your belief that it'll be utopia. And I'm not trying to throw water on it. What I think is the complexity of human life. Everything we do is so oddly complicated, but it will be way better. I
agree. I was
better.
being facetious,
I
right?
know,
That it's utopia, but I think there will be amazing side effects and byproducts of having equality.
Yes, and everything's
There
been
will
progressing.
be. Yeah.
And it is better and better and better in each incremental step. Every time people like yourselves elevate, not only you, but the women around you and the people of color and everyone else, anyone who's been marginalized, the whole thing gets a little bit better, each little step. So I commend you both.
God, this was good. I feel like I just went to therapy.
It was fun to talk to
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and honoring us with your time.
Yeah, Lisa.
Oh, my goodness. My honor.
Yeah, thanks much for being in here and opening up about things and talking about Ōmcare and educating me since I knew nothing.
See, you said it right, Ōmcare.
I did, yeah.
Now, if I can just get the
I had
last
to think
name
about
down.
it before I did it, but
Lavin.
I got it.
Lisa Lavin.
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I so enjoyed this. And I'm looking forward to a few years from now getting back together and talking about all the big partnerships and contracts you have with Amazon and all of the others that are needing this product. And also to look at the ROI, right? Of how many healthcare people we need less because of this.
Yep.
All right. I could
No, it's good.
pontificate on platitudes.
Yes, of course.
Super
And
impressed.
I foresee a future like panelist
Yeah.
on some event that we throw or something.
Yeah.
That's what I see. Why not?
Anytime.
All right.
My
Perfect.
pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you. And thanks for watching or listening or whatever.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Last time in this space.
Woo!
Just you
New
wait.
studio coming up.
New studio.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Don't cry. It's over.
Oh, you did it. You made it to the very end of the show. You know what you can do to help us? What can they do to help us? They can tell their friends how awesome this show is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know what else? And I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but like if you found us and you see us on socials somewhere, just hit repost or share it with your community.
Share, repost, follow. Isn't there a follow option?
Yeah,
of some
follow,
kind?
subscribe. We're not going to charge you anything.
No.
Just hit the subscribe button.
No,
It's
we
not gonna
just
hurt
need
you.
to create a community around entrepreneurism and how the real shit happens.
I like it. Well, because we're real. You said it in the intro.
Real.
We talk real. No, seriously, tell your friends. What a great show. Oh my gosh, these people are doing the best work ever. Yeah, right?
That's what you should say.
Yeah.
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 And just come back. Have fun with us. We love this.
We'll have someone, we'll interview someone cool next week too.
Someone completely different.
Yeah, from prison. Thanks.
We always have to have that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.